Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Good morning. How are we all doing this morning? Welcome. Howdy. Just gonna scroll up and say hello. Hello to the Kami Jesus, London's best gay. Smash. Everybody, welcome in. Also, I haven't actually officially said anything about it yet. I've just been sort of letting Smash sort of chat and casually it shows up, but Smash is my first mod. So everyone bow down to the sword. Melme, Smash has spent so many hours in my stream with me, it just made sense. Autistic Baddie, welcome. Good morning, Melme. Good morning, Autistic Baddie. Hello, Leaping Larry. Larry, one of the founding members of Tank Tube. I almost just typed shout. Leaping Larry. I'll get more commands to make this easier eventually. But everyone, if you're not following Larry, make sure you're following Larry. Welcome, Strin. Heggles Big D. Lost your streak again. I feel like you lose your streak every time you're in here. You should have a streak of streak losing. I feel like you should be like, I've broken my streak 3 times, and that's the streak that goes now.
Bom
Welcome,
dia.
Comrade Dexy. Oh, bom dia.
Bom dia.
Oh, so, bom dia. Is it dia? Bom dia. I read you said that yesterday, is that correct? Coffee and bread. Dia. Is that, okay, cool. Bom dia. Bom, should I just record the sound and then replace it with my own? Bom dia. Bom dia. And then we'll replace the sound with my own sound next time. The correct pronunciation. Did the bot fail, or am I lacking a Discord role for notifications? You may not have the Gay Bomb Squad Discord role. If you don't have the Gay Bomb Squad Discord role, you wouldn't have gotten the ping that I put, but there's no bot set up for me in the Discord yet. Once the poll ends, and if I have a majority approval, then we'll set up automatic notifications in the Discord. But if you're in the Discord, I'm currently being endorsed by the Discord right now, or I have an endorsement process going on, and so you can go to the voting booth to vote on mine and Complainy Laney's endorsements. Complainy is the other new emote that Madeline made. I just had it. There it is. This is Complainy's emote. It's incredible. We also have Manapua has an emote, and Lennon Smesh has an emote. Vote yes for Virgo, or I'm banning you. Yeah, Smash is laying down the law here. You can't be here if you didn't vote yes. No, the poll is going... as the person who started the poll for myself, I can see the poll is going well. I appreciate you all so much, comrades. I have a little thing that I wrote so I could make myself a little channel trailer that I was going to just read from and then clip later on so that I could use it and have on my page as my channel trailer. So I wanted to do that. And then I wanted to very quickly do a a new segment that I'm doing where we have well, you'll see. There's a new segment, and if you've been in the Gay Bomb Squad, you will have a sneak preview of what that new segment is. So we'll get into the new segment. And then after that, for basically the rest of it, I'm going to be reading from A Two-Spirit Journey by Mani Chacaby. And this is an autobiography by Mani Chacaby and with help from Mary Louise Plummer, talking about her entire life, growing up knowing that she was Two-Spirit when her grandmother told her. And welcome in, Resistance Radio. When her grandmother told her that she was Two-Spirit, it wasn't something that she learned on her own. It was something that her grandmother basically told her and said, you're going to live a difficult life because of this, but it wasn't a negative thing. It was you will live a difficult life, but it's because of this and it will be a good one, kind of an explanation. But this is what we'll be reading for Pride Month this month. I read this a few times now, actually. I really, really enjoy this book. For me, what I appreciate about it is the connection between The Mani Chacaby makes a connection between becoming an Indigenous elder and teaching people in her community as an Indigenous elder, and then also as she goes into cities and things like that, she experiences queer youth, and she connects with queer people as well as like a queer elder. And there's a point in the book where she makes a connection between those two identities and like stitches them together. And for me, when she was talking about being a queer elder and in the city with queer youth and connecting that to her indigeneity, it was something that I felt like kind of a connection with because queer community and queer chosen found families are really, really important to us. Most queer people have a found family or a chosen family and have a queer elder that they look up to or that they learned from. This is something that's true for me. This is something that's true for a lot of people, especially if you are in or near one of like these major metropolitan areas that are known for having like a queer presence, like New York City or San Francisco. I'm specifically from the San Francisco area, so that connection between the two was really eye opening for me and helped me like really identify with this book and with Mani Chacaby a lot. So I'm hoping that same kind of connection comes through, and that's why we're reading it for Pride Month. Hopefully Chelsea's joins us at some point. This book was recommended to me by my friend Chelsea, who has showed up a couple times. Her name is Cough Queen when she's in chat here. She'll have a little diamond. Hopefully she shows up. Chelsea has worked with Mani Chacaby in Canada as part of the organization Feathers of Hope, which is how I came across this book in the first place. W. Chelsea, yes. But I'm just going to read my little channel trailer intro thing. If you guys want to fill the chat with emotes or something, that would be really cool while I'm reading it. But I'm gonna just read it and then move on to the next segment. This is just so I can clip it and post it on the front of my Twitch page. Those diamonds are pretty. Are we talking about the diamond on Twitch? I'm like, what diamonds? There's no blood diamonds here. My ring is fake. It is tin colored gold and not a real diamond. The bestie has copy. My ring is fake. I told my husband I do not want real gold and I do not want real diamonds. All right, so thank you for the emotes. I'm going to read my little channel trailer. Sorry. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Comrade Virgo, and this is the Gay Bomb Squad Twitch channel. I am a queer Marxist-Leninist communist operating out of the North Bay in California. I create propaganda and I perform research from an anti-imperialist, anti-colonial lens. My goal is to spread class consciousness to the people, and so I am part of a network of creators called TankTube, an online collective of Marxist-Leninist or similar-minded thinkers who are opposed to Western hegemony. Together, we are creating educational content for the masses of the people, and we are challenging the mainstream narratives that keep the working class oppressed. If you are curious, want to learn, or want to make friends or connections with communists, join me on Twitch Wednesday through Sunday, and you can also find the rest of TankTube there as well. Awesome. Thanks, comrades. So I'll clip that later and put that on my front page. Thank you for all the emotes. Y'all really spammed emotes and sabotaged the video. Was I completely covered up? I just read it. It'll be fine. That's perfect. It makes it look like there's a strong community here, which there is. You're all powerful. All right, comrades. So for the next section, we have mail. We have mail that we're going to read, comrades. I'm doing a segment called Letters from Leaders. And I have a screen that I'm going to switch to in a second while there's a poll going. I'll put a little short song on in the background as well while the poll is going. But we have letters from evolutionary leaders that we're going to read from, sent directly to us here at the Gay Bomb Squad headquarters. While the poll is going, the letters will be on screen for you to think about. And when it's done, what we're going to do is we're going to read one of the letters ahead of time as a like audiobook thing. So I'm just going to read straight top to bottom. That way we can isolate it. So I'm going to get the poll going. It's going to be like a 3-minute poll. And then I'm going to switch to the other screen. Which letter should we read? Alright, comrades. We're moving over to the letters scene. This will evolve over time as we do it more, but I was up late working on this last night and I was very tired. Comments. Someone asked. Oh, my light just flickered. Someone asked the 8-ball which one that we should read. How do we ask the 8-ball? Pick for tiebreaker.
That's why I support revolution. The revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
Emily, hi. Oh, that's nice. That's very high school. Stick with me here. Good to see you.
Yeah, that's funny. You know who's behind you? It's Joseph Stalin, my good friend. What are you doing back from the dead, Joe?
Lorelai.
Oh, Mom.
Am I live? Can you see or hear me? You can see or hear me. Hello. Excellent. I reloaded it popped back up. It usually goes back to my lobby screen when I refresh the studio that I use, and it popped back up with me staring at myself, and I was like, "Oh, am I just the SpongeBob caveman meme? I'm here." I didn't realize I didn't think I was gonna be. It stayed live somehow. Was I just sitting in silence, or was the screen live and black? What was happening? What were you guys? What were you seeing? Were you just watching me like this? Like, oh, okay. Oh, the studio was still streaming without me? That's fun. That's good, I guess. Copy. Yeah, so the light flickered. Did you see it looked like someone said the light flickered in chat. So the light flickered twice, and when the light flickered the second
That's why
time,
I support
I guess-
revolution. The revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
Thank you. I have to click over here. Thank you, Leah Wolf, for the follow. Welcome. Welcome to the Gay Bomb Squad. And the Hov. I think that, yeah, the Hov as well from this morning. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. The overlay was there, but camera box had to disconnect the screen. Oh yeah, you don't use OBS. No, I can't use OBS just now. Ow! Oh, time for a break. Excellent. You know what? That's great. What I was saying was, so Lennon and Kim Il-sung tied. We're falling so far behind, comrades. Lennon and Kim Il-sung tied. I've had technical difficulties every day so far this week. And so I was thinking we read Lennon because it's shorter and we're falling behind. Is that okay? Is it okay if we read... Oh, okay. Okay, so Weebcore came in and said Kim Il-sung. Okay, that works. I can capitulate to chat. I can capitulate to chat if we want to. I am okay with democratic centralism. Should we do a quick? I'll do a 1-minute runoff poll between the tiebreaker. How's that? 1-minute runoff poll. Lenin or Kiss? Lenin, Kiss. Okay. While the tiebreaker's happening, I'm gonna switch over to the next. Oh no, I'm gonna just switch to the lobby screen and have a break really quick. We keep break because there was a break redeemed. I will be right back. Fidel's in the chat, please. Fuck, Mary, Comrade. Me, Fidel, right? Fidel, all three, easy. Tied again. Chat. Well, if we do both, we won't be able to do any of a spirit. A spirit? We won't be able to do either one spirit or two spirit journey. We won't be able to do any of a spirit journey. Is this a coordinated attack of the communists? Ash shared a video about this in the group chat last night, and there was a man who was calling himself a pro-American nationalist going, why are the communists so coordinated? There's so many of you here in my comment section. And it's like 8 people disagree with you, so of course it's a coordinated attack. I withheld my vote to ensure a tie. Obsis, porque no los tres? Because Madeline will start streaming soon. Okay, comrades. I'm taking control. I'm opening up the Lenin document. I am in charge right now. Kim Il-sung. Smash, you voted in a tie twice. Are you familiar with coconut Marxism? Should we read something by Kamala? Bat67 Mamala, who disowned her? Oh, read Kamala's dad who disowned her. That would be good. That would be good. Did he actually disown her? Did he, like, fully disown her? That's so exciting. Sorry, that's probably not the correct term to use. This is the inside of the letter. This is a snippet from the letter that we're about to read. The ideological struggle, once I figure out how to do this, it will be much more seamless. But I still have to figure out how I want to, like, open the letters on my scene and stuff. So we'll figure it out. But this is supposed to be the inside of the letter, and then we would go to the letter by clicking on his picture. The ideological struggle waged by revolutionary Marxism against revisionism at the end of the 19th century is but the prelude to the great revolutionary battles of the proletariat, which is marching forward to the complete victory of its cause, despite all the waverings and weaknesses of the petty bourgeoisie. So, the letter that we will be reading is actually Marxism and Revisionism by Lenin. So I'm going to, yes, Kamara's work is really, really beautiful, and I really enjoy leading into the postage internationalism. You might want to drop the personal camera to the left of the frame to not obstruct what you're trying to show us. I usually try to keep it right below myself. Is it not sharing? It's not sharing. It stopped sharing. There we go. I usually try to keep it right below me and then read from it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. So like where I am, I usually try to read what's below me, if that works. Yeah. Sometimes I'm still getting used to it, but this is where my camera will be. Thank you, though. So, Marxism and Revisionism, written not later than April 3rd, 1908, published in 1908, published in the Symposium of Karl Marx, 1818-83, signed V.I. Ilyin. There is a well-known saying. Oh yeah, I'm gonna read this all the way through top to bottom. That way we can cut it out and put it on like YouTube or something. You've made your stream very fancy and professional, like amazingly quickly. Thank you. I very much I'm a child of YouTube. Essentially, I grew up alongside YouTube, and so I like to say that I do have the Jenna Marbles Virgo too much gene. If you watch Jenna Marbles used to refer to something called the Virgo too much gene, and that is something that I have. We are the same age. W autistic baddie. We are young in Cuba, is what I keep saying. Jenna, come back to us. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. There is a well-known saying. Sorry, I need to say this. I need to start off by isolating everything. This is Marxism and Revisionism by Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, published in 1908. There is a well-known saying that if geometrical axioms affected human interests, attempts would certainly be made to refute them. Theories of natural history which conflicted with the old prejudices of theology provoked, and still provoke, the most rabid opposition. No wonder, therefore, that the Marxian doctrine, which directly serves to enlighten and organize the advanced class in modern society, indicates the tasks facing this class and demonstrates the inevitable replacement, by virtue of economic development, of the present system by a new order. No wonder that this doctrine has had to fight for every step forward in the course of its life. Needless to say, this applies to bourgeois science and philosophy, officially taught by Marxist professors in order to befuddle the rising generation of the propertied classes and to coach it against the internal and foreign enemies. This science will not even hear of Marxism, declaring that it has been refuted and annihilated. Marx is attacked with equal zest by young scholars who are making a career by refuting socialism, and by decrepit elders who are preserving the tradition of all kinds of outworn systems. The progress of Marxism, the fact that its ideas are spreading and taking firm hold among the working class, inevitably increase the frequency and intensity of these bourgeois attacks on Marxism, which becomes stronger, more hardened, and more vigorous every time it is annihilated by official science. But even among doctrines connected with the struggle of the working class and current mainly among the proletariat, Marxism by no means consolidated its position all at once. In the first half of its existence, from the 1840s on, Marxism was engaged in combating theories fundamentally hostile to it. In the early 40s, Marx and Engels settled accounts with the radical young Hegelians, whose viewpoint was that of philosophical idealism. At the end of the 40s, the struggle began in the field of economic doctrine against Proudinism. The 50s saw the completion of this struggle in criticism of the parties and doctrines which manifested themselves in the stormy year of 1848. In the 60s, the struggle shifted from the field of general theory to the direct labor movement. The ejection of Bakuninism from the International In the early 70s, the stage in Germany was occupied for a short while by Proudhonist Mühlberger, and in the late 70s by positivist Dühring. But the influence of both on the proletariat was already absolutely insignificant. Marxism was already gaining an unquestionable victory over all other ideologies in the labor movement. By the 90s, this victory was in the main completed. Even in the Latin countries, where the traditions of Proudhonism held their ground longest of all, the workers' parties in effect built their programs and their tactics on Marxist foundations. They revived international organization of the labor movement in the shape of the periodical international congresses from the outset, and almost without a struggle adopted the Marxist standpoint in all essentials. But after Marxism had ousted all the more or less integral doctrines hostile to it, the tendencies expressed in those doctrines began to seek other channels. The forms and causes of the struggle changed, but the struggle continued. And the second half-century of the existence of Marxism began, in the 90s, with the struggle of a trend hostile to Marxism within Marxism itself. Bernstein, a one-time orthodox Marxist, gave his name to this trend by coming forward with the most noise and with the most purposeful expression of amendments to Marx, revision of Marx, revisionism. Even in Russia, where, owing to the economic backwardness of this country and the preponderance of a peasant population weighed down by the relics of serfdom, non-Marxist socialism has naturally held its ground.
That's why I support revolution. The revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
Thank you, Lady Amalthea. Give me 1 second. I am going to hide that for now and continue reading so that the audio doesn't get in the way. Sorry, friends. I'm going to back up just a bit. Bernstein, a one-time orthodox Marxist, gave his name to this trend by coming forward with the most noise and with the most purposeful expression of amendments to Marx, revision of Marx, revisionism. Even in Russia where, owing to the economic backwardness of the country and the preponderance of a peasant population weighed down by the relics of serfdom, non-Marxist socialism has naturally held its ground longest of all. It is plainly passing into revisionism before our very eyes, both in the agrarian question and in general questions of program and tactics, our social neurodniks and more substituting amendments to Marx for the moribund and obsolescent remnants of their old system, which in its own way was integral and fundamentally hostile to Marxism. Pre-Marxist socialism has been defeated, and it is continuing the struggle, no longer on its own independent ground, but on the general ground of Marxism as revisionism. Let us then examine the ideological content of revisionism. In the sphere of philosophy, revisionism followed in the wake of bourgeois professorial science. The professors went back to Kant. Then the revisionism dragged along after the Neo-Kantians. The professors repeated the platitudes that priests have uttered 1,000 times against philosophical materialism, and the revisionists, smiling indulgently, mumbled, word for word after the latest handbook, that materialism has been refuted long ago. The professors treated Hegel as a dead dog, and while themselves preaching idealism, only an idealism 1,000 times more petty and banal than Hegel's, contemptuously shrugged their shoulders at dialectics, and the revisionists floundered after them into the swamp of philosophical vulgarization of science, replacing artful and revolutionary dialectics by simple and tranquil evolution. And the professors earned their official salaries by adjusting both their idealist and their critical systems to the dominant medieval philosophy, to theology. And the revisionists drew close to them, trying to make religion a private affair, not in relation to the modern state, but in relation to the party of the advanced class. What such amendments to Marx really meant in class terms need not be stated. It is self-evident. We shall simply note that the only Marxist in the international social democratic movement to criticize the incredible platitudes of the revisionists from the standpoint of consistent dialectical materialism was Plekhanov. This must be stressed, all the more emphatically since profoundly mistaken attempts are being made at the present time to smuggle in old and reactionary philosophical rubbish disguised as a criticism of Plekhanov's tactical opportunism. Passing to political economy, it must be noted first of all that in this sphere the amendments of the revisionists were much more comprehensive and circumstantial. Attempts were made to influence the public by new data on economic development. It was said that concentration and the ousting of small-scale production by large-scale production do not occur in agriculture at all, while they proceed very slowly in commerce and industry. It was said that crises had now become rarer and weaker, and that cartels and trusts would probably enable capital to eliminate them altogether. It was said that the theory of collapse to which capitalism is heading was unsound, owing to the tendency of class antagonisms to become milder and less acute. It was said, finally, that it would not be amiss to correct Marx's theory of value too, in accordance with Bohm-Bawerk. The fight against the revisionists on these questions resulted in as fruitful a revival of the theoretical thought in international socialism as did Engels' controversy with Dühring 20 years earlier. The arguments of the revisionists were analyzed with the help of facts and figures. It was proved that the revisionists were systematically painting a rose-colored picture of modern small-scale production. The technical and commercial superiority of large-scale production over small-scale production, not only in industry but also in agriculture, is proved by irrefutable facts. But commodity production is far less developed in agriculture, and modern statisticians and other economists are, as a rule, not very skillful in picking out the special branches, sometimes even the operations, in agriculture which indicate that agriculture is being progressively drawn into the process of exchange in world economy. Small-scale production maintains itself on the ruins of natural economy by constant worsening of diet, by chronic starvation, by lengthening of the working day, by deterioration in the quality and the care of cattle, in a word, by the very methods whereby handicraft production maintained itself against capitalist manufacture. Every advance in science and technology inevitably and relentlessly undermines the foundations of small-scale production in capitalist society, and it is the task of socialist political economy to investigate this process in all of its forms, often complicated and intricate, and to demonstrate to the small producer the impossibility of his holding his own under capitalism, the hopelessness of peasant farming under capitalism, and the necessity for the peasant to adopt the standpoint of the proletarian. On this question the revisionists sinned, in the scientific sense, by superficial generalizations based on facts selected one-sidedly and without reference to the system of capitalism as a whole. From the political point of view, they sinned by the fact that they inevitably, whether they wanted to or not, invited or urged the peasants to adopt the attitude of a small proprietor, i.e., the attitude of the bourgeoisie, instead of urging him to adopt the point of view of the revolutionary proletarian. The position of revisionism was even worse as regards the theory of crises and the theory of collapse. Only for a very short time could people, and then only the most short-sighted, think of refashioning the foundations of Marx's theory under the influence of a few years of industrial boom and prosperity. Realities very soon made it clear to the revisionists that crises were not a thing of the past. Prosperity was followed by a crisis. The forms, the sequence, the picture of a particular crisis changed, but crises remained an inevitable component of the capitalist system. While uniting production, the cartels and trusts at the same time, and in a way that was obvious to all, aggravated the anarchy of production, the insecurity of existence of the proletariat and the opposition of capital, thereby intensifying class antagonisms to an unprecedented degree, that capitalism is heading for a breakdown. In the sense both of the individual political and economic crises of the complete collapse of the entire capitalist system has been made particularly clear, and on a particularly large scale, precisely by the new giant trusts. The recent financial crisis in America and the appalling increase of unemployment all over Europe, to say nothing of the impending industrial crisis to which many symptoms are pointing, all this has resulted in the recent theories of the revisionists having been forgotten by everybody, including apparently many of the revisionists themselves. But the lessons which this instability of the intellectuals had given the working class must not be forgotten. As to the theory of value, it need only be said that apart from the vaguest of hints and sighs a la Bohm-Bawerk, the revisionists have contributed absolutely nothing, and have therefore left no traces whatsoever on the development of scientific thought. In the sphere of politics, revisionism did really try to revise the foundation of Marxism, namely the doctrine of class struggle, political freedom, democracy, and universal suffrage, remove the ground for the class struggle, we were told, and render untrue the proposition of the Communist Manifesto that the working men have no country. For, they said, since the will of the majority prevails in democracy, one must neither regard the state as an organ of class rule, nor reject alliances with the progressive social reform bourgeoisie against the reactionaries. It cannot be disputed that these arguments of the revisionists amounted to a fairly well-balanced system of views, namely, the old and well-known liberal bourgeois views. The liberals have always said that bourgeois parliamentarism destroys classes and class divisions, since the right to vote and the right to participate in the government of the country are shared by all citizens without distinction. The whole history of Europe in the second half of the 19th century and the whole history of the Russian Revolution in the early 20th clearly show how absurd such views are. Economic distinctions are not mitigated but aggravated and intensified under the freedom of democratic capitalism. Parliamentarism does not eliminate, but lays bare the innate character even of the most democratic bourgeois republics as organs of class oppression. By helping to enlighten and to organize immeasurably wider masses of the population than those which previously took an active part in political events, parliamentarism does not make for the elimination of crises and political revolutions, but for the maximum intensification of civil war during such revolutions. The events in Paris in the spring of 1871 and the events in Russia in the winter of 1905 showed as clearly as could be how inevitably this intensification comes about. The French bourgeoisie, without a moment's hesitation, made a deal with the enemy of the whole nation, with the foreign army which had ruined its country, in order to crush the proletarian movement. Whoever does not understand the inevitable inner dialectics of parliamentarism and bourgeois democracy, which leads to an even sharper decision of the argument by mass violence than formerly, will never be able on the basis of this parliamentarism to conduct propaganda and agitation consistent in principle, really preparing the working class masses for victorious participation in such arguments. The experience of alliances, agreements, and blocs with the social reform liberals in the West and with liberal reformists, cadets, in the Russian Revolution has convincingly shown that these agreements only blunt the consciousness of the masses, that they do not enhance but weaken the actual significance of their struggle, by linking fighters with elements who are least capable of fighting and most vacillating and treacherous. Millerandism in France, the biggest experiment in applying revisionist political tactics on a really national scale, has provided a practical appraisal of revisionism that will never be forgotten by the proletariat all over the world. A natural complement to the economic and political tendencies of revisionism was its attitude to the ultimate aim of the socialist movement. The movement is everything, the ultimate aim is nothing. This catchphrase of Bernstein's expresses the substance of revisionism better than many long disquisitions. To determine its conduct from case to case, to adapt itself to the events of the day, and to the chopping and changing of petty politics, to forget the primary interests of the proletariat and the basic features of the whole capitalist system, of all capitalist evolution, to sacrifice these primary interests for the real or assumed advantages of the moment, such is the policy of revisionism, and it patiently follows from the very nature of this policy that it may assume an infinite variety of forms, and that every more or less new question, every more or less unexpected and unforeseen turn of events, even though it changed the basic line of development only to an insignificant degree, and only for the briefest period, will always inevitably give rise to one variety of revisionism over another. The inevitability of revisionism is determined by its class roots in modern society. Revisionism is an international phenomenon. No thinking socialist who is in the least informed can have the slightest doubt that the relation between the Orthodox and the Bernsteinians in Germany, the Gestists and the Jaresists, and now particularly the Brucists in France, the Social Democratic Federation and the Independent Labour Party in Great Britain, Bruckner and Van der Velde in Belgium, the Integralists and the Reformists in Italy, the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks in Russia, is everywhere essentially similar, notwithstanding the immense variety of national conditions and historical factors in the present state of all these countries. In reality, the division within the present international socialist movement is now proceeding along the same lines in all the various countries of the world, which testifies to a tremendous advance compared with 30 or 40 years ago, when heterogeneous trends in the various countries were struggling within the one international socialist movement, and that revisionism from the left, which has taken shape in the Latin countries as revolutionary syndicalism, is also adapting itself to Marxism, amending it. Labriola in Italy, Lagardelle in France frequently appeal from Marx, who is understood wrongly, to Marx, who is understood rightly. We cannot stop here to analyze the ideological content of this revisionism, which as yet is far from having developed to the same extent as opportunist revisionism. It has not yet become international, has not yet stood the test of a single big practical battle with a socialist party in any single country. We confine ourselves, therefore, to that revisionism from the right which was described above. Wherein lies its inevitability in capitalist society? Why is it more profound? Why is it more profound than the differences of national peculiarities and of degrees of capitalist development? Because in every capitalist country, side by side with the proletariat, there are always broad strata of the petty bourgeoisie, small proprietors. Capitalism arose and is constantly arising out of small production. A number of new middle strata are inevitably brought into existence again and again by capitalism. Appendages to the factory, work at home, small workshops scattered all over the country to meet the requirements of big industries, such as the bicycle and automobile industries, etc. These new small producers are just as inevitably being cast again into the ranks of the proletariat. It is quite natural that the petty bourgeois world outlook should again and again crop up in the ranks of the broad workers' parties. It is quite natural that this should be so and always will be so, right up to the changes of fortune that will take place in the proletarian revolution. For it would be a profound mistake to think that the complete proletarianization of the majority of the population is essential for bringing about such a revolution. What we now frequently experience only in the domain of ideology, namely, disputes over theoretical amendments to Marx, what now crops up in practice only over individual side issues of the labor movement, as tactical differences with the revisionist and splits on this basis, is bound to be experienced by the working class on an incomparably larger scale, when the proletarian revolution will sharpen all disputed issues, will focus all differences on points which are of the most immediate importance in determining the conduct of the masses, and will make it necessary, in the heat of the fight, to distinguish enemies from friends, and to cast out bad allies in order to deal decisive blows at the enemy. The ideological struggle waged by revolutionary Marxism against revisionism at the end of the 19th century is but the prelude to the great revolutionary battles of the proletariat, which is marching forward to complete victory of its cause despite all the waverings and weaknesses of the petty bourgeoisie. Notes: see Studies in the Philosophy of Marxism by Bogdanov, Bazarov, and others. This is not the place to discuss the book, and I must at present confine myself to stating that in the very near future I shall prove in a series of articles or in a separate pamphlet everything I have said in the text about neo-Kantian revisionists essentially applies also to these new neo-humanist and neo-Berkeleyan revisionists. And then I think that's... Oh, revolutionary syndicalism is a petty bourgeoisie semi-anarchist trend that made its appearance in the labor movement of a number of West European countries at the close of the 19th century. The syndicalists saw no need for the working class to engage in political struggle. They repudiated the leading role of the party and the dictatorship of the proletariat. They believed that by organizing a general strike of the workers, the trade union, in France, syndicats could, without a revolution, overthrow capitalism and take over control of production. And that, comrades, is Marxism and revisionism. I will turn the screen back on. Good morning, Collective TV. Welcome in. Also, good morning to Find It Lesbian. Revisionists and Demsocks will get along. They're one and the same. Everyone make sure you're following Collective TV. They also produce propaganda from a Marxist-Leninist, anti-colonial perspective. Time to take a break. Oh my gosh, Cough Queen! Everyone say hello to my best friend, the guest of honor in my wedding. Cough Queen, my best friend Chelsea. Chelsea is a Canadian patriot. No, I'm kidding. No. My friend Chelsea is an Indigenous activist in Canada and has taught me quite a lot about indigeneity and Indigenous history. But it's time for a break. I need to have something that I can play during the take a break segment. I've currently just been playing my expensive Parenti soundbite. So, Bessie, it's time to take a break. I'm gonna pack my bowl in the background.
They try to develop a gay bomb.
But this is a good time to. I'll play the expensive Parenti clip because it's a 60-second clip, which is why it's so expensive. And we'll have a break together. I hope you're having a good morning, bestie. I'm about to start reading from Mani's book that we just finished up with a letter, and I'm going to read this book next. I'm glad that you're here right now. But Fidel emotes in the chat, please. I will be right back.
But that expropriation of the third world has been going on for 400 years, brings us to another revelation, namely that the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Most countries are rich. The Philippines are rich. Brazil is rich. Mexico is rich. Chile is rich. Only the people are poor. But there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. There's been billions for 400 years. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the flax, the hemp, the cocoa, the rum, the tin, the copper, the iron, the rubber, the bauxite, the slaves, and the cheap labor. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped, they're overexploited.
Alright, comrades. So, we are going to read A Two-Spirit Journey, which I read a couple years ago. I'm having breakfast before work. I'm scrolling to catch up to where edibles are the best before a plane. Bestie, are you getting on the plane? Who's getting on a plane? Some guy is having... Who is getting on a plane? I'm lost. The plane. Dankrupt is very funny. Yes, London's Best Gay is Dankrupt. Someone has to have a second hoot for London's Best Gay. I work construction at the airport and some guy is smoking. Oh, copy. I see. Copy. I understand now. Welcome in, everybody. Who I see Ghost in This Hell. Who is joining us. Welcome. So we're going to read A Two-Spirit Journey, the autobiography of a lesbian Ojibwa Cree elder by Mani Chacaby. This book was recommended to me by Chelsea, who's here in chat with us, Cough Queen. Yeah, someone needs to get zooted in London's Best Gay's honor. Oh, excellent. Welcome, Jug. Hello. A Two-Spirit Journey is Mani Chacaby's extraordinary account of her life as an Ojibwa Cree lesbian. From her early, sometimes harrowing memories of a life in remote Ojibwa community, riven by poverty and alcoholism, Chacaby's story is one of enduring and ultimately overcoming the social, economic, and health legacies of colonialism. As a child, Chacaby learned spiritual and cultural traditions from her beloved Cree grandmother and trapping, hunting, and bush survival skills from her Ojibwa stepfather. She developed warm friendships with some other children, but also suffered physical and sexual abuse by different adults. In her teen years, Chacaby became alcoholic herself, and at 20, she moved to Thunder Bay with her children to escape a violent husband. Abuse, compounded by racism, continued, but Chacaby found supports to help herself and others. Over the following decades, she achieved sobriety, trained and worked as an alcoholism counselor, raised her children and fostered many others, learned to live with visual impairment, and came out as a lesbian. In 2013, Chacaby helped lead the first gay pride parade in Thunder Bay. Mani Chacaby has emerged from hardship grounded in faith, compassion, humor, and resilience. Her memoir provides unprecedented insights into the challenges still faced by many Indigenous people. This book is going to be really good. There are some times in this book that will talk about, sexual violence and different kinds of abuse. And so this is a warning about, the subject matter of this book. This book is going to talk about some heavy issues. If there is a subject that comes up while we are reading that you need to take a break from listening to, we completely understand. We want you to take care of yourself. But if you can listen to it, I think it's also important to hear other people's stories all the way through if you can. But this one I'm not going to read the same way that we did with the Lennon letter right now, which I can isolate and post online as its own little audiobook. I'm going to read this and we're going to discuss it as we go. Up until Madeline gets on. And tomorrow, hopefully I'll have a better handle on the letter segment and we'll have a little bit more time to read from this book. But this is going to be the book that I read essentially this morning until we're done with it as my pride thing. I'm checking to see where is Madeline on the Burger Bike? My Burger Bike isn't updating. I can't tell. They're late today, it seems. They're not on the Burger Bike yet. Okay, copy. Okay, maybe we have plenty of time. Maybe we have plenty of time. A note on terminology. I think this is important to read. Mani Chacaby uses the term Anishinaabe to refer to indigenous person, and Anishinaabeg to refer to all indigenous people. In the text, Anishinaabe is also used as an adjective, indigenous, to describe other nouns, Anishinaabe medicine, Anishinaabe family, or Anishinaabe history. The Anishinaabe words she uses in this book are Ojibwe, The spelling of Anishinaabe terms were originally standardized with existing dictionaries, except in cases where they did not reflect Mani's pronunciation or knowledge of them. So that way we have the context for the word Anishinaabe when I read it. To protect the privacy and identities of the individuals mentioned in this book, all names, excluding Manis, have been substituted with pseudonyms. Chapter 1. My grandmother's and my family's history in Manitoba and Ontario. My name is Mani Chacaby. I am an Ojibwa Cree elder, and I have both a male and a female spirit inside of me. I have experienced a long, complicated, and sometimes challenging journey over the course of my life. My earliest memories are of gathering kindling, making snowshoes, and hunting and trapping in my isolated Canadian community, where alcoholism was widespread in the 1950s. In 2013, more than half a century later, I performed a healing ceremony, and then helped lead the first gay pride parade in my city, Thunder Bay, Ontario. This book describes the extraordinary path that led me to this place. I will begin with what I have been told about my family history. Almost everything I know about the period before I was born, I learned from my kokum, grandmother, who raised me. She was a Cree woman named Lalila. She had a very long life, and was the oldest among the elders in my Ojibwa Cree community. When my grandmother died in 1967, her doctors guessed that she was over 100 years old. They entered her age as 104 on her death certificate, which means she would have been born in 1863. Some of the elders in our community later discussed events in my grandmother's lifetime, and they agreed she was probably born in the 1860s. When I was a child, my kokum was well known as a storyteller in our community. Some of the following stories she told to me alone. Many I heard at social events, when other adults and children also gathered around to hear her tales. When other adults and children also gathered around to hear her tales. Wow, born in 1863 and to live to be over 100 years old is incredible, you know. I think that's amazing. It means that they survived the snake oil era. Yes, W Coco. Kokum. I will type it in right here. This is the word that means grandmother, or refers to the person who is their grandmother. My grandmother's childhood. Yes. My grandmother's childhood. My grandmother came from the prairies of Saskatchewan. She lost her parents when she was a small child, maybe 4 or 5 years old. She remembered living with them and other families in teepees on a hill or a cliff that overlooked a sandy broad river. My kokum said that her community was in conflict with another native group in the area. She said the other group did not have enough young people to have babies, so they wanted to kidnap children from her community. Because of that dispute, she and other children had been warned that if their homes were ever attacked, they must run and hide under a canoe at a certain spot, some distance away. My kokum explained to me that one night her parents woke her in a rush and told her to hide. She and her brother and another child ran to the canoe and crawled under it. They heard yells and screams from their homes, but they stayed quiet for a very long time until there was a silence. Then they waited even longer, for as long as they could. They came out from under the canoe in the morning. The air was filled with smoke, and the teepees had been burnt to the ground, and dead bodies laid everywhere. The children were terrified and hid under the canoe again. In the end, they were discovered by traveling Cree families that were canoeing in the area. My grandmother said that those adults buried the dead in a large mound and then adopted her and the 2 other children into their own families. My grandmother's adopted parents were very good to her. She and her brother were raised in different households within the same extended family. Their new family had also been attacked by another native group in their original home, so they were migrating across Canada, trying to reach relatives on the coast of James Bay in northern Ontario. For many years, my grandmother traveled with them by foot, horse or canoe in summer, and dog sled and horse in winter. She said they moved faster on ice and snow, trapping and hunting animals as they traveled. My Kokum's strongest memories of those years were of bitterly cold winds that chilled her as she slept in a teepee at night. While they journeyed, she also saw a branch of Hudson's Bay Company store when she was about 10 or 11 years old. The store was on a boat that moved from place to place to sell its wares. In that store, my grandmother saw a mirror for the first time. She also tasted her first orange, which she remembered as being both sweet and sour. I imagine that's true for your first orange. I call my kokum Coco, cuckoo for short. Yes. My grandmother and her family must have traveled about 1,500 kilometers as they moved eastward along a northern route that crossed both Manitoba and Ontario. They only created a permanent home when they reached the Ottawapiskat River on James Bay in the early 1880s, when Lalila was
That's
10
why
or
I
11
support
years old.
revolutions. The revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
Thank you, Lady. Oh, thank you. Sorry, it popped up just now. Thank you, Sugar Potion. Thank you also, Lady Amalthea. Thank you, Lady Amalthea, and thank you, Sugar Potion, for the follow. Welcome to the Gay Mom Squad. My grandparents' marriage. When my grandmother was about 14 years old, she met my grandfather. His name was Christopher Chacaby. Christopher's father was French. This is a figure, by the way, also. We have a picture of... This just appears to be a map. Map of Ontario, Canada, and key locations. This is a map of Canada for people who have never seen it. There you go. Hello, Comrade. Welcome in. Ottawapiskat. I can help with pronunciation. Thank you, Bestie. I appreciate the help with the pronunciation. So we're meeting a man who has a French father. We'll go in post and we'll bleep out every time I say French. And his mother was Ojibwa. My grandmother explained that Christopher spoke both French and Ojibwe, but he looked like a white man to her. Ash, when it's your birthday again? When is it your birthday again, Ash? I've never heard of Canada. Sounds exotic. Exotic is a way to describe it. The 19th of this month? In 15 days? Everyone said a reminder that we're having a birthday party for Ash on the 19th. Oh, yes, Juneteenth. Yes, nice. He spoke both French and Ojibwe, but he looked like a white man to her. She said he was shorter than her and had pale skin and curly hair. Christopher was about her age, but when she met him, he was already working, as was common at the time. He and his father traveled around James Bay trading store-bought goods, like mirrors and blankets, for beaver, fox, muskrat, wolf, marten, lynx, and weasel fur. Lalila was shy but quickly drawn to Christopher. She said he was a good talker and very funny. He introduced her and her family to the fiddle, and he played it well for them. Before he left to continue trading, Christopher told Lalila he would return one day to marry her. And he did return a few years later, when she was about 16 years old. At that time, Christopher's father asked Lalila's adopted family whether Christopher could marry her. Her family said it was for Lalila to decide, and she chose to marry him. It was normal for a man to give his bride's family gifts as part of the wedding ceremony, but my grandmother said that my grandfather was extraordinarily generous. He gave her family 2 horses, 2 moose for meat, and moccasins. I only know of Canada from women's hockey. That's all it's for. That's all we use Canada for nowadays. Ironic. That's sarcastic. Wait, yours is soon too. What day is yours? Everyone's having a birthday? It's on a Fuck Off Friday. Ooh, excellent. Fuck Off Friday birthday. The 16th. Hold on, Heggles. Your birthday's coming up first? Oh, Canada, my home on native land. Real. I love Gemini season. So many of my favorite people are Gemini. I gave such an ugly laugh. Yeah, that's all it's for now is women's hockey. We're gonna have a huge birthday party. Madeline is, maybe we're on today. Who knows? Maybe Madeline can't go live on TikTok and just hasn't told us. Who knows? I don't know. Madeline and I really only talk in front of everybody on Twitch. Oftentimes. We DM'd yesterday for the first time in probably like a month. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. We're in a group chat now, and we have both like talked in that group chat at the same time. I'm a Gemini rising, my only Gemini placement. This is fun for all of you, isn't it? You get to share what your signs are. My sign is my name. I'm a Taurus, alas. Stubborn. My mom is a Taurus. So was my dog. My dog was born on May 1st. My mom was born on May 9th. Any other Geminis? Scorpio here. This is gay. I love her ghost. My partner is a Virgo, and they keep me grounded. W Earth signs keeping you grounded. I don't even believe in astrology. I just sympathize with other Geminis. My Venus is in Gemini. I love this gay chat. My big three are Virgo, Sagittarius, Virgo. He, him, they, them. I literally read that as your a, they, them, right? He, him, they, them. I have a complicated relationship with gender. Scorpio sun, Aries moon, Cancer rising. Do you remember that terrible beer commercial? Taurus sun, Pisces moon, Virgo rising. Everyone's just, all the gays dropping their big three. W big threes. Me equals Virgo, partner equals Gemini. Bestie, you know my sign already. Bestie is also a Virgo. Bestie is an August Virgo. I am a September Virgo. We balance each other out, and we make one perfect Virgo. One perfectly balanced Virgo. Somebody has to redeem the horoscope reading now. I keep forgetting. That's going to be the first one to get replaced by something else because I'm at max sound alerts right now. And I wanted to do another one. There's a sound alert in there that I got from you. Scorpio sun, Libra rising, Sag moon. I'm literally already getting horoscope prepared just in case someone does it. Virgo sun, Leo moon, Sagittarius rising. Yeah, I don't know. I probably couldn't just say your big three off the top. I did know Virgo, Leo. I have that just on a separate tab. Autism sun, arthritis rising, fatigue moon. Yeah, Lenin sun, Stalin rising, Fidel moon. Right? Che moon. What's everyone's big theoretical? What's everyone's big revolutionary leader 3? What's your big leader 3? Larry's is obviously Kim Il Sung, Kim Jong Il, Kim Jong Un. Just straight down the line. I think that's Larry's big 3, right? Stalin's son. Yeah, there's Larry. Sun, Mao Moon, Lenin Rising. Yeah. Stalin Sun, Mao Rising, Kim Il Sung Rising. Excellent big threes, everyone. I'm gonna keep reading. Someone who's going to be our Madeline. I'm a Lenin. I guess we could put Madeline on silent. Hold on, if they come on. Someone let me know when Madeline is on, and we can put Madeline on silent on the screen share while I'm reading. And I will see if I can find an image of the book. Well, there's an image right here. What am I talking about? And just save it. It just went live. That is not an image. That is a I saved a web page. Can I don't think I can save it. That's fine. No one throw a tomato because it would land. I can see the tomato. If you throw a tomato, you will be doing an indigenous hate crime. I just want you to know that right now. Anyone who throws a tomato just because you paid me money does not mean you will not be doing an indigenous hate crime. Don't throw tomatoes. Madeline is live. Is Madeline? Oh, Madeline's live on Twitch? Did Madeline skip TikTok? Did we just miss TikTok? Skip talk. Okay, copy. I'm gonna keep reading then. I have it muted. I skipped Burger Reich, just getting set up. Oh, okay, I see it in the chat. That's so funny. W skipping Burger Reich. I bet they want to see if they even need it anymore. I bet they want to see. I don't think they need Burger Reich I don't think that we need the Burger Reich pre-stream the same way anymore. Let's all skip talk. I'm getting off TikTok. I will be personally offended if you throw a tomato. No one throw a tomato. Do not throw a tomato. At that time, no, we're here. It's normal. Makizine. Bestie, is it Makizine? Moccasin. I'm gonna type it in. Makizine. And some buffalo and deer hides for blankets. His gifts, we're still reading gifts. Makizine? They'll get the same numbers any way you watch. Yeah. Moccasin. Oh, it's still moccasin. Okay. It's spelled, okay, copy. It's spelled that way, but it's still moccasin. Heard. And some buffalo and deer hides for blankets. His gifts included 2 rifles. Oh, they're up. I'm gonna read all the gifts. His gifts included 2 rifles, several mirrors, and some Hudson Bay blankets. Their marriage ceremony followed Ojibwe Cree customs of wrapping their wrists together in cedar, lighting a sacred fire, and giving each other a feather. Christopher also bought 2 gold wedding rings from a Hudson Bay store. Many years later, my grandmother passed hers to me. Alright, we didn't get very far into this, but to be honest, we got distracted a few times. We got a little gay in chat about signs, and it took us a minute to get to the letter, but that's fine. You chat the polls today were very funny. Good job. Good job pranking me with the polls. But it's time to raid Madeline. We did no Burger Reich today, so there was no need to skip the Burger Reich in the first place. Is there an anarcho-communist in the Discord? Okay, I can't wait. Can't wait to go check it out in just a second here. But thank you all.
The Demon of Yodok and the Twink of Pyongyang. Mods, delete this. No, we love the Twink of Pyongyang out here.
There's also another one. That is the raid, the raid chat. Yes, the Juche The Juche reading was really, really funny. The Juche, the demon of Yodok reading is hilarious. But tomorrow we're going to do something similar. We're going to pick another letter. We're going to replace Lennon's letter with a new postcard from a new revolutionary leader. We'll read it for an audiobook for YouTube, and then we'll keep reading A Two-Spirit Journey. And I'm going to keep working on it. Hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother, but it didn't go very smooth. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning, everyone. And let's go raid Madeline for the first raid of the tank tube train. Choo-choo. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. Oh, I forgot to start the raid. Hold on. I'll figure this out. I'm in the early learning phase of Twitch now. You have to give me the same grace period. Don't forget to copy, if you have the emotes, copy Smash Ultra's message, and that's our raid message. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow morning.